Okay, hi everyone. I guess we'll wait for a little bit more for people to join in. Um, Meanwhile, if you have any questions later on, you can just leave in the comment box. We'll come back to it later. So for now, if you don't mind, don't forget to like and share the video so that more people can join and benefit from this our briefing for today. So I think it's quite lucky for us to get the hot stock in technology, which is the JFTECH. I think they performed quite well in their latest quarter, which they achieved a new high in results again. So, John, what do you have to say for our guest today?
I think very unassuming man. I had the privilege of meeting him way back in 2019, early 2019. And I think I look forward to him steering JFTech to new heights. How are you, Max? How have you been?
Actually, fine. Been really excited to actually meet JFTech again because I think at the backstage we actually talked here and there about how JFTech has been, and then you actually got in quite early, right? So how do you feel as a shareholder?
Of course, very happy. But I think the phrase more importantly for the viewers later today is the best is yet to come. I think that's how I put it.
Okay. Later we'll pass to Dylan. We see he will explain the best part yet to come.
Yeah, the best part is yet to come.
Okay. I see we got over hundreds over viewers here. So if you're here, can you just type in a quick hi or hello so that we know our mic is loud and clear. We are not talking amongst ourselves. Okay. If you're here,
exactly.
Just leave a hi so we can start quickly. Okay, we have questions coming in already. One of the hottest topic. Yeah. Okay. Shall I say hi? Hi. Okay, great. I think our audio is okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so
good to hear.
Yep. So let me make a very quick introduction. So as everyone may have already know, JFTech is a leading innovator manufacturer for high performance test conducting solution, or we know them as test socket manufacturer. But of course, moving forward, they might be more than that. Okay. As you can see from their results, I think in their latest result, they have been achieving the seventh consecutive quarter in revenue growth. So we are really lucky for us to able to host Mr. Dillon Atma Singh, which is the CEO of JFTech. So he'll bring us through the business model of JFTech, some financials, and we are really lucky today. By the way, thank you, Rondi, for hosting this from Stockbit. So
Yep.
we are also lucky to have John here. If you are seeing him for the first time, he's from FIR Guys. So I think one of the few, how do I put it? One of the few really respected people who really come out to the industry and actually taught people good knowledge in terms of investing. It's not those just coming out and then just tell you, oh, you can go for these tips and these tips. No, but they're really serious about giving financial educations. So with that being said, so John, do you have anything to add on before we invite our esteemed guest today?
Yeah, I think let's open the floor to him. Thank you so much for your kind words, Max. And if you want to catch Max and his backstory, we've hosted him on a podcast last week. Go to our podcast channel. You can learn all about Max. So I think let's not spare any more conversation. Let's bring the main guy onto the show, man. Time to dig more things from him.
Okay.
Hey, hi John. Hi Max.
Hi Dylan.
Hi. Yeah, I like the part where you say the best is yet to come.
And of course, I say that with bias because I'm still holding your shares.
Right.
So thank you so much for coming this evening. So Max, to you.
Okay, so I guess we'll pass the floor to Dylan. You can share your slides. We are happy to cue it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I share my slides, first of all, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking time this evening to attend this session. I look forward to interactive and productive session with all those who are dialed in and viewing from the various platforms. Also, a big shout out and thank you to FIRL, 12 Invest, and Stockbit for hosting me this evening. So once again, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank
All
you
right,
for sparing your time with us.
You're most welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah.
So I'm going
Yeah.
to share my slides. Let me know, John and Max, when you can see my slides, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're seeing more and more people dialing in. Once again, don't forget to like and share the video so that more people can benefit from it. Okay, right.
We can see it loud, nice and clear, on Dillon.
Okay, great. Okay,
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So first of all, a standard disclaimer for all the participants today. I will appreciate very much if you do not record or take any pictures during this presentation. Okay, let me begin the session. So JF Technology at a glance. JF Technology's bread and butter essentially is developing, manufacturing high-performance test contacting solutions for global IC makers. So in case you're wondering what IC stands for, IC stands for integrated circuits. So in order to test the integrated circuits, many different types of integrated circuits, you will require a test socket, also known as test contactors. And we are one of the leaders in design, development, and manufacturing of these test contacting solutions. We have got more than 20 years of industry experience with close to 200 customers worldwide. With the establishment of our latest subsidiary, JF TestSense, which I'll be spending a lot more time talking about in my subsequent slide, we now have been able to move up the value chain of the semiconductor test ecosystem by providing value-added test engineering services as well as test interface products. Again, I'll provide some clarity on what test engineering services as well as interface products entail. JF Technology is the leader, if not the leading Malaysian technology company in terms of intellectual property ownership. We have got 68 patents filed across the globe and 33 already granted for 5G RF as well as automotive test contacting applications. Our headquarters is located in Kota Damansara, and with our latest manufacturing facility in Kunshan, China, we now have got 2 manufacturing sites, one in Malaysia as well as in China. Our business model is of a high gross profit margin, which I'll talk about shortly, with recurring and compounding sales through our test consumables. So just maybe a little bit more explanation what test consumables is all about. So if you imagine if you buy a printer, definitely you need to buy the printer cartridge, okay, or the ink. So printer cartridge or the ink is consumable for a printer. So similarly for test contactors, after we sell the test contactor, the pins and the elastomer have a certain lifespan to it, right? So our customers will need to purchase the test contact pins as well as elastomer from us, hence recurring and compounding sales. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Dylan, can you hide the bar over there at the bottom part? Can you click on the hide button?
Sure, will do.
Yep. Sorry. Yep. Thank you so much.
Is that okay?
Yep. It's nice now.
All right. Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Semiconductor test ecosystem. This gets a little bit complicated because it's quite technical in nature, but essentially there are a couple of key components in the semiconductor test ecosystem. First of all is the tester, which is what we call the brain, using Superman. This is our quite standard presentation slide that we always try to use Superman's help. The brains of Superman is essentially the tester, and players in this area include Teradyne, Chroma, Advantest. These are international names. And then locally, you have you will have MLS. Okay, my good friend Sang Beng, I'm sure some of you may have delved into some of his briefings before. So MLS provides testers. Okay, so tester brain. Then you have the visual inspection or the eyes. Okay, this will be companies, for example, Malaysian company will be Vitrox, TT Vision, Kohu. So what this vision system does is actually semiconductor come in all different form of size and shapes. On the semiconductor, there will also be marking or the branding. So visual inspection system will inspect and make sure the ICs, the integrated circuits, are cosmetically looking good, okay, physically conforming to specification. So that's what the visual inspection system does. It does not test the IC. It is only checking for the IC physically, right? So hence visual inspection equals eyes. And most of the time, if you're not familiar with the semiconductor test ecosystem, the visual inspection system is part of the test handler, right? So test handler, this is where Malaysia, we are very well known in producing very, very good automation for test equipment. Folks like SRM, ExisTech, Pentamaster, AT Automation, Vis Dynamic, these are some of the local Malaysian names. And then, of course, internationally, you have people like Multitest, FICO, Kohu. So the handler, essentially, why we call it the hands, it's sorting the units. After we test the units, we want to sort out which one is good, which one is bad, right? Similarly, with the visual inspection system, which one looks good, which one looks bad, which one physically is conforming to spec, which one is not. Okay, because you only want to make sure the tested electrically good units physically conforming to the specification in terms of dimension is shipped to the customer. So the right-hand side visual inspection handler performs that function. Then we have test contactor. This is where JF Technology produces our products, being test contactor, which is what we call the heart. The heart or the test contactor provides a medium for the integrated circuits. If you look at my visual here, these are some examples of integrated circuits. The integrated circuit will be sitting on the test contactor, and this test contactor will be between the tester and the handler. Later on, I will show you another slide to give you a better visualization of what the entire semiconductor test ecosystem is all about. Now, in order to test a 5G IC, the tester and the contactor must be 5G compliant, right? Because when we talk about 5G, anything greater than, for example, 40 gigahertz, right? The test socket must be able to ensure 40 gigahertz reaches the integrated circuit that we are testing. And then, of course, for the tester, it must be able to generate the signals that are 40 gigahertz or more. So hence, left-hand side, tester and contactor, it must be 5G compliant to test 5G IC. On the visual inspection and handler side, because of the function that it performs, not necessary it must be tuned. In fact, no need to tune to say, oh yeah, it is 5G compliant, because essentially checking for the units physically and then also sorting the units, whether good or bad. Okay, so I hope I did not confuse the audience, but I think this is very important to understand where JF Technology fits in the entire semiconductor test ecosystem. So it's an integral part in order to test the IC. Without a test contactor, you essentially cannot test. Even though you have a tester, you have a handler, no use. You still need to have a test contactor, right? So again, as I mentioned earlier, for the test contactor, we have recurring sales due to the test consumables like our test pins, as well as elastomers. Now, moving on, JFTECH, we are in the forefront of technology. Why do I say so? These are some of the key process steps in the overall semiconductor value chain. Okay, the first step obviously is IC design. So this is where a customer, for example, HiSilicon in China, they are conceptualizing a chip that is going to be going into a cell phone. At the time when they are conceptualizing the chip, they will need to already define the packaging technology, the electrical characteristics of the IC that they're designing. And this is where we already come into the picture, because the customer, for example, HiSilicon, will require to know how to test their IC. Okay, so what type of contactor will they be using to test the IC? Hence, JF Microtechnology, our subsidiary developing test socket solutions, we engage with IC designer at the very, very first step. Okay, so we get asked this question a lot of times, hey, why is your gross profit margin model so attractive, right? So there's a lot of customization that takes place in order for us to produce these test contacting solutions for our customer, and then also very long qualification time, especially if the IC is going into application like automotive, where human lives are involved. You want to make sure that the semiconductor, in your dashboard, in your engine, is thoroughly and properly tested. So hence, very long qualification time to make sure the entire semiconductor test ecosystem for IC that goes into the automotive application is performed properly. So it can take 3 to 5 years from the proof of concept to high volume test manufacturing. And because of the high level of customization also, a lot of R&D work is performed, and hence, this also translates into the high level of patent ownership that we have, right? We have 68 patents filed across the globe, as I mentioned. The subsequent step after IC design is something what we call test development. So here is where JF Test Sense now comes in the picture, right? So besides just developing the contactor, we also are now able to develop the test program and other hardware that is associated with testing a semiconductor IC, right? So JF Test Sense, which I talk about a little bit more detail in my subsequent slide. Then you have wafer fab. These will be people like TSMC, UMCs of the world. So they perform wafer fabrication. And then subsequently will be packaging. This will be, for example, OSATs, CASEM, UNISEM, INARI. So they perform IC assembly as well as final tests. Okay. So our products, the test sockets, are deployed two parts of the entire semiconductor value chain. First of all, at the design centers. So design centers will work with us to develop and customize test contacting solutions. During their characterization, their design phase, they are already testing prototypes. Okay. Further to that, in high volume final tests, when they deploy the solutions to the OSATs, for example, this is where our test sockets are deployed in higher volume. Depending on how much volume of an IC is shipped, corresponding number of test sockets will need to be deployed. So our customers are not only constrained to, for example, fabless companies or IC design companies, but OSATs, for example, are also our customers, because when the OSAT is testing the IC in high volume, they will use the test contactor that is specified by their customer. And in this case, common customer. So the design house is our customer, also customer of the OSAT. The design house will tell OSAT, I have already qualified JF test contactor, right? We have been spending the last 2-3 years, example, to qualify JF test contactor. Please utilize JF test contactor in production. So OSAT automatically also become our customer, because defined by OSAT's end customer. So I just wanted to provide a little bit more clarity, right, in terms also of our customer base. So this is the semiconductor value chain. So after the products are tested. Obviously, it's tested good. It will be shipped to the EMS players and then subsequently to the final product. In this case, it's a cell phone, right? So this is the entire semiconductor value chain. Now, JFTECH's products evolution, we are now shifting from 4G to 5G technology. So 4G lasted roughly about the past 10 years. We expect 5G to last the next 10 years, if not more. What is the key differentiation? Number one, frequency is getting higher. The product sizes are getting smaller, and these product sizes, we are talking about JF Technologies products. So in the past, for example, our pins may be 4 millimeter in size. Now it's 0.4 millimeter in size, close to 100% smaller. And later on, we are also looking at contactless technology, right? So the manufacturing technology utilized to produce our products is also getting more complex. In the past, you can build products using regular CNC machine. Now we are talking about micro precision tools, electroforming type technology. So this is our JF next generation 5G product focus. Similarly, also for automotive, the evolution to now electric vehicles, more stringent testing requirements, whereby you need to also test products or ICs at high temperature, extreme cold, minus 40, room temperature, 25 degrees, extreme hot, 175 degrees. Why is all this important? The test contactor, first of all, must ensure that the unit or the IC sitting on the contactor must experience this 3 different type of temperature with plus minus 1 degree Celsius, example, accuracy. So you can imagine, not so straightforward to produce this high precision, not only in terms of electrical characteristics, but also in terms of temperature requirement. So current and voltage, obviously, higher voltage requirements now as we go into electric vehicles. So hence, higher current, higher voltage, and precision thermal testing features, and we are ready. Okay, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, why I say we are ready. Okay, so those initial few slides, some detailed explanation what semiconductor test is all about, what semiconductor value chain is all about, and how JFTech fits into the grand scheme of things. Now let me switch gears to talk about our latest financials, which we announced yesterday. Sorry. So as John and Max mentioned earlier in the introduction, JF Technology, we experienced our best ever, or we recorded our best ever quarterly revenue, being 11.3 million ringgit in the just concluded first quarter of financial year 2022. So our first quarter begins 1st July and ends 30th September. So 11.3 million, and this represents the 7th successive quarter of revenue growth for our company. Gross profit continues to be at 78%. Our sweet spot is 78%. We continue to experience double-digit improvement driven by strong demand from customers. This is also in line with the overall growth in the semiconductor industry. Revenue from Malaysia jumped to 4.6 million ringgit. Sales from China also increased by about 27%. So net, commendable revenue, quarter-on-quarter growth, 7 successive quarters. Not easy to perform, but we are laser focused, to hit these numbers. All right. In line with the top line performance, we recorded also our all-time high quarterly net profit. So first time ever, we hit the 5 million ringgit mark. So our net margin is at 44.5%, which is also all-time high, also record for JF Technology. So comparing quarter on quarter sequentially, financial year 2021 and 2022, corresponding Q1, we grow by about 25.7%. Okay, so those are the financials already public information now released on 16th of November. So now let me share a little bit what are the prospects going forward. So first of all, let's take a look at the global semiconductor market. What we are experiencing now and what we expect to continue for the next 5 to 10 years at the very minimum, exponential growth in 5G market and adoption. So global 5G market is expected to reach 277 billion USD in 2025. Who knows what this number is going to be in 2030? But what we do know is there will be billions of ICs deployed in conjunction with the adoption of 5G, and every single one of these ICs will require to be tested, okay, with a customized test socket, and JFTECH is ready to capitalize on this growth. So this growth driven by multitude of applications, example, 5G phones. So how many of us today actually own a 5G phone? Maybe, we now are starting to shop for 5G phones, right? So in 2022, next year, global 5G adoption expected to hit 1 billion subscribers. And this number is going to continue to climb, right? In order for us to capitalize on all the fancy new application, new games, that can utilize 5G type speeds. Besides that, we also have Internet of Things, IoT, artificial intelligence, we hear a lot about, robotics, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, IR 4.0. The common theme with all these new applications, again, as I mentioned, it requires integrated circuits, semiconductors, and not one or two, billions of them deployed. Okay, and this is where JF Technology is able to capitalize on this immense growth, at least for the next 10 years, with this 5G growth, 5G market growth. The other thing, capitalizing on 5G speeds will be smart homes. All of us want to turn our homes into smart homes, but again, the common factor here with smart homes, all the gadgets, all the appliances, all require integrated circuits, all require semiconductor devices, and our products are ready to test these devices. Switching gears from 5G now to automotive. So if you look at the global automotive semiconductor market, expected to grow at the compound annual growth rate of 6.3%, going up to 56 billion in 2028. Also, electric vehicles, in line, with, reducing the carbon footprint across the globe. Adoption of EV, we expect, is going to be accelerated in the years to come. Now, if we look at the semiconductor content in a level 2 electric vehicle. So level 2, level 4 is just basically how much autonomy and sensing products is available in the electric vehicle. In a level 2 EV in 2018, from 2 or 3 years ago, the semiconductor content is about $580. This is expected to grow by about 300% to $1,760 by 2022, which is not too far away, by the way, just a couple of months away. And when we talk about level 5 EV, autonomous driving, this number is going to go up even higher. So this is just to illustrate to the attendees today of this session that the semiconductor growth, unlike maybe 10 to 20 years ago, electric vehicle, 5G, we expect to continue to be able to sustain the demand for semiconductor in the years to come, as in the next 5 to 10 years, because again, with 5G, who knows what new applications is coming about, being conceptualized as we speak today, that will be capitalizing on this immense 5G speed. Just like EV is also going to be covering or adopting the 5G type speeds available. So in automotive, as I mentioned, JFTECH is ready. We have got products ready. These are some of the brand names. These are some of the visuals of our test contacting products that test many different type of applications in an automobile today. Right. So again, here are some of our examples. Okay. So we have looked at the global semiconductor demand landscape for the near future, for the next 5 to 10 years to come. So what's the prospect for JF Technology? We have got 6 growth drivers, and our 6 growth drivers we charted out early of 2021. So this is where we actually develop our blueprint that's going to bring us into the future. All the revenue reported in the past, all contributed by one growth engine, which is our current products, test contactors, which we continue to experience high organic growth. A big chunk of the contribution of our record-breaking numbers last quarter is from G1. But what I do want to share is moving forward, financial year 2022, we have got 3 additional growth engines firing up, which is, first of all, our joint venture in China with Huawei, establishing our manufacturing capability in China, also capitalizing on the immense 5G deployment and the local China market IC consumption, right? So I will be sharing a little bit more color in terms of what are the latest status update of our manufacturing facility in Kunshan. So that's our second growth driver, essentially China. The third growth driver will be JF Test Sense, where now we are able to provide, JF Technology is able to provide value-added test engineering services, test interface products, as well as training programs for our esteemed customers. We already have got orders secured, and sales have been reflected in our latest financial numbers for Q1 2022. And moving forward, we intend to set up satellite cells in US, China, Europe, and ASEAN countries, semiconductor producing countries in Southeast Asia, for example, Thailand, Philippines, Singapore. We intend to set up satellite offices there to scale our business larger. Last but not least, for financial year 2022 will be our partnerships as well as potential M&A. So for M&A, we already have got one candidate identified. So we are working towards closing this M&A activity. For ISC partnership, we announced in August an agency and distributor agreement for ISC, which again I'll be talking about. So 2022 excitement starts. We have got 3 additional growth engines on top of our bread and butter current products. So hence 4 growth engines contributing to revenue for JFTech in financial year 2022. In 2023, we will have another additional growth driver, being our game-changing new products, Belmet and Unicorn. This Belmet and Unicorn, why we call it game-changing products, it's designed and developed to cater for more advanced packaging technology. So I'll save the explanation for Belmet and Unicorn for probably future sessions. And also in 2025, the last growth driver, being proud owners of 68 patents that we have filed and 33 granted, we intend to monetize this intellectual property through licensing arrangement with prospective prospective partners. Okay, so licensees. So this we expect to take off sometime in financial year 2024 or 2025. Currently, we are limited by travel restrictions, not being able to meet with these potential partners, because this sort of arrangement or discussion we need to do face to face. Okay, so exciting times ahead for us. A lot of hard work, but we have got, what I do want to share with the investment public is we have got a blueprint that is established. We have got a compass to guide us towards our goals, right? So these are the 6 growth drivers. So update on G1 current products. We also announced that we will be establishing 2 center of excellence. One in Malaysia. We believe this to be the very first in Malaysia. Malaysia Semiconductor Test Contacting Center of Excellence, which will be twinned with our Center of Excellence in China. So as we know, China has leadership in 5G technology. They are already working on 6G. So the intellectual property as well as new product development catering for the more advanced China market can be shared. The technology and knowledge can be transferred and shared with our Malaysia Semiconductor Center of Excellence, servicing the rest of the world, being US, Europe, and Asia. So Malaysia focus US, Europe, Asia, and obviously China Center of Excellence will focus on China. The twinning program will allow us to have digital access, for example, manufacturing recipes, manufacturing technology. We can share between both our Center of Excellences, and most importantly also is the technology, IP, and know-how. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you are working on something that is 5G related, for example, for a company in Singapore, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel and start from the drawing board. China very likely already has this product established, IP already generated, just transfer. Similarly, if we have got an automotive type test contacting application that Malaysia has already established, we can utilize the know-how and share the technology and knowledge with our China Center of Excellence serving the China market. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarity what the test contacting Center of Excellence is all about, okay, between China and Malaysia. So that's G1. Okay, so JFH Technology Kunshan, our second growth driver. Very pleased to share with everyone, production has commenced in October 2021. So our manufacturing facility is located in Hua Chao, Kunshan City. This is a visual of the front view of the building. We do not occupy the entire building. We occupy the first floor over here where my pointer is showing, roughly about slightly higher than 2,000 square meters. This is the manufacturing floor as it is, with equipment already installed and now already running production. So through our collaborative efforts with our JV partner, some of the key customers includes the names that you see on the slide, its subsidiaries, and OSATs are all our captive market. So I'm sure everyone is reading today a lot about China being China's efforts to being self-sufficient in terms of semiconductor supply, to the fact that the Chinese government has invested 1.4 trillion US dollars to accelerate self-dependency, self-reliance on producing semiconductors. So hence, if you look at it from a number of design houses, it's quite amazing number. 2,218 design houses in China as compared to only a handful in Malaysia. So the pace that the China IC market is growing is amazing, right? Top 10 Chinese chip design houses rank HiSilicon, obviously ranked number 1. And HiSilicon is also our equity and technology partner. So we are very proud to be selected by them to be the technology partner. And this is also testimony to the outperforming products that we produce. And some more statistics here. 15,700 new companies in 6 months, all in China, demonstrating high growth rate in the China overall semiconductor ecosystem. And we are there to capitalize on it. China is already looking at investing in 6G technology. So 5G to them is already something that is already established, already given. So the twinning of our center of excellence in Malaysia and China, riding on our collaboration with our JV partner, we expect it to give us also some first mover advantage in 6G test contacting technology going forward. So that's G2. Several slides focusing on China. Now let's switch gears now to JF TestSense, which is our latest subsidiary. JF TestSense has started contributing to earnings in first quarter financial year 2022. We have secured new customers, even though we have only established this subsidiary for slightly over a year. Okay, we already have got new customers, obviously, and then actively prospecting for new customers as well as also potential partners to scale the business. And we are not only talking about potential local partners, we are looking actually overseas as well, across the globe, US, Europe, for potential partners that we can work with to scale the business faster. So what is JF TestSense all about? I'll explain to you shortly. These are the equipment in our test center of excellence here in Kota Damansara. Okay, so we have invested in state-of-the-art tools, again, testers, Advantest, Teradyne, as well as pick and place handlers. So we have got the tester and handler, and this equipment emulates our customer production equipment. So these are not engineering tools. These are actually tools. When I say tools, testers and handlers that are utilized in the production environment, for example, the OSATs or the customers' factories, in order to do production testing. So the value add service that we provide to our customer, we tell our customer, you don't have to worry about us interrupting your valuable production tools. I have our own set of production tools in our lab that we will utilize to emulate or to reproduce the production environment that you need without interrupting your test equipment. Okay, so what is the work we actually do? I'll explain to you shortly. But first of all, I just want to explain the tools first that we have, because in order to do the test engineering services, perform the test engineering services that we offer to our customers, we first of all need to have the tools, and we have invested in these tools over the past 12 months, and we are now ready in our lab. Going forward, we are looking at additional investments. For example, EcoTest, very established tester brand name in China. We are also looking to acquire EcoTest testers as part of our tool base to support the China market. And in the near future, also, we will be establishing capability to perform wafer testing. Okay, so wafer testing, not inspecting the wafer, we are actually electrically testing the wafer. Okay, so we are going to establish that capability sometime in 2022. So we have got short-term, what I call a short-term roadmap in terms of the test equipment that we will be putting in place to support JF TestSense activities. Okay, so now let me try to explain to the best of my ability what JF TestSense is all about. So as I mentioned just now earlier in the Superman slide, several key components. In the test handler, obviously you have the vision system, as well as the handler, which function is to sort good units and bad units, to inspect physically, dimensionally, specification conforming units to the non-conforming units. So that's what the test handler does. So the test handler essentially is dock, what I call dock. If you imagine, if you watch Star Wars, you have the space capsule that docks to the mothership. So the space capsule here is the handler. The mothership is the tester. The handler needs to be docked to the tester. and in between the handler and tester in this blue box, okay, what is essentially in the blue box, the composition of the blue box, all of these items. Okay, the integrated circuit, the IC, will be sitting on this board here, what we call a probe card or a dot board, and in between there are also other peripheral items, the docking plate, docking mechanism. In order for the test handler to dock with the tester, you need all these mechanical items, which people do not talk about a lot, by the way, because this is, again, a very specialized field, very niche market. But you need all these items. Test socket is part of test interface product. It's one of the several items under the test interface product category. But beside that, there's also, as I mentioned, the docking mechanisms, the probe card, the hardware, the stiffeners. JF TestSense offers a one-stop shop solution for all of these items. Now, I was a user before, I was a customer before in the semiconductor industry. I used to utilize several different suppliers in order to put all of these items together. So, example, I'll go to supplier A to buy all the docking items, supplier B for the boards, JF Technology for the sockets. Pogo Tower is supplier C. Bearing in mind these are all very high precision mechanical and electrical components, when you try to put all of them together, chances of it working first time right, very, very slim. So when that happens, what do? You call supplier A, B, C, and JFTECH to your production floor. Okay, come, let's troubleshoot. Let's try to figure out what's wrong. Okay, and many times the suppliers will go like that. No, not my problem. The other guy's problem. So this is one of the common pain points for semiconductor companies, our customers, which we can now eliminate by providing them this one-stop shop solution. Now, this is not a monopoly. If customers say, no, I don't want to buy the docking mechanism from you, I still want to utilize my current supplier A for docking mechanism, fine. The value-added service that JF TestSense provide is, you can ship us this docking mechanism from your supplier A. We will still do the engineering work for you to put everything together and test it out on the tester in our lab to make sure that you have got a complete working test interface product solution. Okay, so this is on the hardware side. On the software side, what we call test engineering services, in order to test the IC, you must tell the tester to essentially talk to your IC. How does the tester talk to the IC? When I say talk, means send signals, send electrical signals. Okay, the voltages, the currents to the IC or integrated circuit that you are testing. You need a test program. You need a test program in order for the tester to interface or interact with the integrated circuit. This is something that JF TestSense engineers are now able to do. So if a customer gives us, here is my integrated circuit, this is the specification, produce the test solution for me. We can produce the test program as well as all the hardware that you see on this slide and provide the customer with this value-added service as well as the hardware. So this is what JF TestSense is all about, right? So I spend a little bit more time because, again, highly technical. I hope I don't confuse anyone. But this is what JF TestSense is doing to move JF technology up the value chain for semiconductor testing. Okay, now G4, partnership with ISE. What is this? What's the significance of this partnership? Essentially, there are 4 segments in the overall test socket market. So if you look at the car, the front 2 wheels, ISE is the world leader. Rubber sockets for memory application, spring probe test sockets for microprocessor, and universal test application. The rear wheels, JF technology, short rigid pin sockets for high frequency test application like 5G, cantilever sockets for automotive and high power test application. Now, in the past, if we went to a customer and the customer has all four product offerings, they have got memory IC, they got microprocessor, they have 5G and automotive. We can only do half of it. We can only do the high frequency automotive. And we'll have to tell the customer, why don't you maybe talk to someone else, right? For to get solutions for memory and microprocessor. Now we don't walk away from any business. Okay, every semiconductor company is now a potential customer. What this means, we are now the one-stop shop for high-performance test sockets. We don't have to walk away from any business or recommend business to a competitor because we don't have ability to serve the customer. That is now in the past. So the agency agreement for silicon rubber and spring probe test sockets is already in place. We have secured orders from customers in China, which will start contributing to earnings this quarter onwards. And moving forward, our future plan still intact to integrate JFTECH's own design socket housing with ISC state-of-the-art pins. So ISC leadership is in their spring probe pins, right, which we can integrate into our own socket housing and sell under JFTECH's brand name. So that's the future plan for the partnership with ISC. Okay, so I spoke about the 4 growth drivers that will be contributing to revenue in financial year 2022, and also to prepare for the future is our Malaysia facility expansion. We have got a total build-up area. We will have a total build-up area in 2022, 96,000 square feet. Currently, our facility is sitting on 46,000 square feet. We are building a new 4-story building, which will add roughly about 50,000 square feet to the existing 46,000 square feet, hence bringing about 96,000 square feet. So the latest status, we held a groundbreaking ceremony a couple of months ago in September. Construction started just last month, and completion is on track to be done by 4th quarter of 2022. And this 4-story building, just for the information of everyone, is scalable to add 2 more floors. So if let's say 4 or 5 years down the road, we occupy or we have filled up this 96,000 square feet, we can add 2 more floors on top of the current 4 floors that we are building. Okay, so that's Malaysia facility expansion. Also, very recently, about a week ago, we announced proposed transfer of our listing from ACE market to main market of Bursa Malaysia. Considering approval and other due diligence activities by the Security Commission, our target completion will be sometime 1st quarter of 2022 for us to complete the migration activity from ACE market to market. So in summary, 1st quarter already in the bag. Key highlights: number 1, best ever quarterly top and bottom line performance recorded by JF Technology. Our facility in China production has already commenced and will start contributing positively from this quarter onwards. JF has already started contributing to earnings starting last quarter, 1st quarter of financial year 2022. Our partnership with ISC is bearing fruit, will start to contribute to earnings again this quarter. So hence, 4 growth drivers all firing up already. Last but not least, we have also announced the main market migration. So these are some of the key highlights for the last quarter. So key takeaways, as I mentioned, 6 growth drivers, our blueprint for the future already formulated in financial year 2021, only one growth driver contributing to top and bottom line. In 2022, we'll have 3 additional growth drivers, bringing about 4 growth drivers in total. 2023, an additional growth driver will start to contribute, so 5 out of the 6, and then by 2024, all 6 will be, we expect to contribute to top and bottom line growth. Major game changes, 5G and EV still at infancy stage, as we all know, but with immense growth prospect in the next 10 years. And 6G already in the horizon for the future. So exciting prospects for potential sustainable growth, the course of the next 10 years, 2020, 2030, this decade, 5G and EV, the next 10 years, 15 years, autonomous vehicles, and this list, who knows what the other pluses, maybe a year, 2 years down the road, if I speak to you again, this list may even grow longer, right, in terms of new semiconductor applications. In conclusion, our business model, highly sustainable, recurring and compounding sales of our test consumables, strong gross profit margin model, 75% or higher. We are a strong innovator in the forefront of technology, again, proud ownership of IPs and patents that we generate and we continue to generate. We have got ready solutions to capitalize on the exponential growth from the 5G, 6G, and EV market. Synergistic equity partnership with Huawei bringing more possibilities. Main market migration already in the works. Hence, our growth engines are just starting to fire up. We are sowing the seeds. We have got a lot of hard work in front of us, but with the blueprint, with the compass, we have got a guiding light to achieve our objectives, and we hope to reap the fruit soon. So 5G, 6G, EV, and many more new applications translates to many years of sustainable growth potential for the company. So with that, I end my presentation and I hand it back to Max and John.
Okay, thank you so much, Dillon, for the comprehensive presentation. I think most of us, we get a very good understanding on what JFTECH is actually doing, as well as how do you hit new high in terms of your latest quarter. So, John, maybe I let you kickstart the first question.
Sure. I think I will take the first question from the floor because I scanned through all the questions already and I grouped them so that we don't have to repeat a few to help Mr. Dillon as well. I think the first one is something that has repeated at least 4 or 5 times, which is actually the TAF, the lifespan of your sockets. And I think maybe you may want to give a bit of some context first, Mr. Dillon, because I understand based on your product range, your Sigma, your Thor, and all that, right? Different lifespan, different life cycle, and maybe you can give us a quick context and probably also an average lifespan for your test sockets.
Okay, very good question. So thank you for the question, John. The products that we manufacture are highly customized, right? First and foremost, highly customized. So if we are talking about a test socket that is used to test automotive application, high voltage, high current flows through the test socket. So hence the lifespan will be relatively shorter as compared to a test contactor that is just used to test high frequency type products. Because for high frequency type products, not so high current, obviously.
Correct.
So this is one of the factors determining the life cycle of the product. So I cannot give you an exact number, but it ranges because different product has different lifespan. Okay,
that's right.
But typically anything from 2 to 3 million units is normal, right, for the life cycle of our product. But again, can be higher, can be lower depending on the exact test application.
Great. maybe I just synthesize for the benefit of the audience. When Mr. Dillon mentioned 2 to 3 million, there is 2 to 3 million test cycles. That means if the socket is actually being subjected to the test device, every time in, out. So one in, one out is considered one cycle. So if it's 2 to 3 million, that's the average for their test sockets. Yeah, did I contextualize it correctly, Mr. Dillon?
Perfect. So John, just to add a little bit more color to that, besides cycles, it's also units lah. You can also look at it from a unit standpoint. 2 to 3 million units tested. So cycle units.
Thank you. Max, maybe your turn for a question.
All right. We have really a lots of interesting questions here. Okay, so although I see one of our friend here asked not to us to compare about FP Group and JFTECH again, but we do have a question on the JFTECH sense. So could you share with us who are your competitors in the market that is probably doing what JFTECH is doing and have the technology that JFTECH has? And I think there's a subsequent question on the JFTECH. So how much of CapEx would you need to buy the equipments for the JFTECH segment?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah, very, very good question again. Competition landscape. This market is essentially a very niche market, hidden gem, what I like to call it, a hidden gem. My competitors, what I know of, none are public listed, mostly smaller private companies, So most of the time, folks who perform this kind of value-added test engineering services or offer test interface products are very passionate about performing test engineering type work. So they're driven by passion. Okay. So hence smaller group, smaller companies around. In Malaysia, I know of one or two private companies who are performing the type of work that JFTECH has done, but not in the true sense as in offering the one-stop shop solution for test interface product. So they are very strong, for example, in test engineering services, the coding part, as well as building the boards. But they don't offer, obviously, they don't offer test sockets, they don't offer docking mechanisms, they don't offer Pogo Tower, the full works, right? So from a competitive landscape, I do not know of anyone with a similar exact model of JFTECH given, our one-stop shop solution value proposition. Okay. Overseas competition primarily located in India. Now, question to everyone. Have you heard of semiconductor manufacturing located in India?
First time for me. I know of generic drugs manufacturing in India is very, very big. Exactly.
Also, all the respect, because India produces very, very good engineers. Okay, and this is where the talent or the engineering talent pool is located, but manufacturing is not located there. Manufacturing is located in Malaysia, in this part of the region. So if you have engineering services providers located far away from the manufacturing facility, that speaks for itself already. So one of our, we feel, competitive advantage is our close proximity. First of all, to the OSATs. Malaysia well known for top OSATs in the world, right? Besides that, semiconductor manufacturing companies, many who have been here for the past 40 years, 50 years, right? So our ability to service their needs, close proximity, helping them to resolve manufacturing issues on a very, very quick and timely basis is a key competitive advantage of ours, right? So I just wanted to add that answer, even though the question was asked about our competition. So competition, one or two smaller companies locally, primarily in India, obviously some in Europe, some in US, but very scattered. So one of the things that JFTECH Technology, JFTECH is also looking is consolidating, right? We are looking for some of these potential smaller partners who are very good at what they do. For example, in RF testing, okay? Our strength right now, for now, in JFTECH is power management. But if we can work together, we can acquire some of these smaller players, we can build capability in many segments. This gives us another competitive advantage as well over our competition. Okay. Now, to the capex, we have spent roughly about 3 million ringgit, roughly, on the tools that I talked about. Now, this number is changing because in the tester, there are many instruments, many boards. So I may decide to buy 2 additional boards next month to equip the tester to give it better capability. So this equipment is also scalable, right? In order to test more units at a time, I need to populate more tester boards onto the equipment. So for now, roughly about 3 million, but that number may increase. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dillon. Back to you, John.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much for adding color, especially to the Indian aspect of it. Because IIT is just the MIT of this region.
Exactly,
it's so
exactly.
yeah. I have friends coming. I used to work with an Indian engineer, and the joke is that if you can't get into MIT, you get into IIT. But if you can't get into IIT, then it's like you're the second tier of the Indian engineers. That's their joke. It's very competitive. Okay, with back to the question. I want to bring up a question brought up by Jin Su Ong. So he actually had a question on the other operating income for the quarter. That's his first question. And the second question is related to the China power crunch. And is it affecting the production in the Kunshan plant?
Okay. Very good question. Maybe let me take the second question first on the China power plant. So the China power crunch. Okay. So obviously, for the China power crunch, many areas in China were affected. Okay. We too were somewhat affected initially, but given just like here we are classified as essential services. The E&E industry is classified as essential services during the MCO time. In China, similarly, our facility in Kunshan also classified as preferred industry, or you can call it essential service also lah, right? So hence we were only impacted for a short period of time. We had power restored and our factory is conducting operations as normal.
To the second question on the other operating income for the quarter, I think he was referring to the jump from the preceding quarter. Preceding quarter, you had 140,000, but the other operating income for this quarter was 1.111 million. Fourth line item for your P&L.
Yeah. So the other operating income is mainly related to the gains we have made on some liquid investment as well as interest income. So that is the other operating income.
Okay, great. Max.
Okay, thank you. Okay, since we mentioned about the power crunch in China, actually I'm quite surprised to find that there's no any mention about the FMCO in your quarter report, because a lot of companies, they have been reported impacted by the FMCO and so forth. So would you say that how are you impacted by the FMCO in Malaysia instead?
Okay, so thanks, Max, for the question. For FMCO during this, unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic time, fortunately, JF Technology is classified, as I mentioned, under essential services under the E&E category. So we are very thankful to the government authorities for allowing us to continue operating, albeit strict compliance to the SOP is defined. So the impact to us during the MCO time. The FMCO has been very, very minimal. Only the couple of days when, the government was figuring out, what SOPs to put in place, right? So just a few days here and there that we were impacted where we had to take a shutdown. But other than that, we have been operating pretty much business as usual.
Okay. Sorry. Maybe I add one more question.
Yeah.
So that your 50,000 square feet plant, I think it was very close proximity to an existing facility. So it was expected to be completed on Q3 calendar year 2022. So are there any delays on that, or everything just as usual?
Yeah, so the current completion, we just we finished about 50% of the piling already, right? Required. So we are monitoring. I'm receiving reports on a weekly basis, and so far all indications that we are on track,
Okay, that's really good to hear. John?
Yeah, great. So I have a question from Shahum Gracia with regards to 6G test sockets. Do JFTECH actually have something in the works, and are they? I'm pretty sure they're going to be patent applications if you do develop one. So probably give us some color on the development in that aspect. 6G test sockets.
Okay, so thanks to the person asking the question. So for 6G test socket, this is also related to G5, our fifth growth driver, game-changing new products, Belmet and Unicorn. Belmet and Unicorn is catered more towards advanced packages as well as higher frequencies than 5G. We call it 6G. Hopefully, the name is 6G. So these are products that we are working very closely with our JV partner in China to characterize, to ensure that it meets their electrical requirements as well as their expectations. So we do have new products in the works that we expect to be able to handle 6G type frequencies, which we will be launching, if everything goes well, sometime next year, the next financial year, 2023. Okay. And again, these two products are patented, as you mentioned, John.
Yep. Okay. Great. Just one more question, Max, before I move on back to you. With regards to, I think, revenue segmentation, I think in your report it's quite clear, but from your aspiration, Dillon, in terms of your G1 to G5 kind of growth drivers, where do you see the revenue segmentation probably 5 years from today, in a sense that what's your aspiration? I know it's probably a forward-looking statement. I don't think it's a forward-looking. It's more of your aspiration of how do you want JFTECH to be in 5 years' time. And I would like to hear your color on that actually.
Okay, so very good question. Our core product, our bread and butter, test contactors, right? We know the size of the market for test contactors. A lot of data out there. I think about 12 months ago in one of the briefings, I shared that the size of the pie from 2 or 3 years ago is maybe 1.5 B US dollar. That is probably now double, from 3 to 4 B US dollars. But on the JF test sense side of things, to put things in perspective, right? If you recall the slide that I shared just now, test contactor is one of the many pieces in the puzzle, right? One of the many pieces in the test interface product category. That whole box, that blue box, what we call test interface product, the ASP can be anything between 25 to 40, 50,000 US dollars, right? But you do not have data to classify test interface product as one block, as an example. You have test contactor, you maybe have boards,
Then the Pogo.
Docking mechanism, I have not seen, in my many years in the industry, I've not seen the size of the market for docking mechanism for the space capsule to the mothership. I've not seen that. So the potential, the growth potential for JF Tencent is immense. And if all things put together, if things go well, the size of that market can be even larger than test contactors, if not the same. At the very
Understand.
yeah.
Understand.
So
Yeah.
aspiration besides John, aspiration
Yeah.
besides growing, obviously growing our bread and butter, expanding our product portfolio is definitely to grow JF Tencent. So China G2, G1 test contactors, G3, G4, G4 being M&A and
Yep.
partnerships, can be contactors, can be JF Tencent. As I mentioned, JF Tencent type business very scattered,
Yeah.
right? Very specialized. So incubation period may take some time to
Yes.
consolidate all these guys together so that we become a formidable army.
Understand. Actually, I had a leading context question to that because a lot of people are looking at your PE now and saying it's very high. But the reason why I'm leading towards that question was because if you look at JFTech, at least my personal opinion, JFTech is only a test socket, test contactor company. Obviously, it's expensive because the TAM is already 3B. That's the TAM. The total addressable market is already 3B. But when you look at it from a test solutions provider, then like what you've just explained, just hits the nail on the coffin. We are looking at it from a wrong angle of the size of the total addressable market, where it is, I would say, a very divergent market, a lot of players, many players, and you're trying to converge that market. Am I right to say this in this context?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I cannot comment about the valuation of the company,
Yeah.
but what I can comment is the potential, and that's why I also spend a lot of time explaining in my earlier slides the entire semiconductor test ecosystem, because JF Test Sense covers many parts of the entire semiconductor test ecosystem. So now, we are dealing also with test programs that enables the tester to talk to the IC,
Yeah.
right? We enabling or we are producing hardware that goes onto the handler in order to test an integrated circuit. Besides producing the hard, which is test
Correct.
contactor, right?
Correct. Yeah. Thanks, Dylan. Max, back to you.
Right. Okay, I actually went through the questions. Actually, a lot of people has been asking about actually on the tax incentives. As we can see, actually since Q4 in financial year 2021, the company have a tax provision, I think around 1.3 million. So generally, I think that more or less has affected the bottom line of the company. So could you share with us what is actually the tax provision is, and moving forward, would your tax rate back to the low level that we see in maybe financial year 2020, financial year 2021?
Okay, so as we all know, tax is related to the government, to the authorities, right? So in April of 2021, calendar 2021, April, our pioneer status for one of our subsidiaries actually ended, right? So hence we had to take a tax provision for fourth quarter of financial year 2021. And similarly, also the first quarter of financial year 2022. But despite that, we still managed to record uh, profits and also revenue, obviously revenue, but also record profit. We reported 5 million profit after taking into account the provisions. What I do want to share with the investment public, we are actively engaging with the government authorities, to continue to accord us with some of the tax incentives. I'm not at liberty to disclose in further detail because some of these discussions are sensitive in nature. So when the time is right, hopefully we can share some news with the investment public. But this is something that we are currently actively working on together with the government authorities.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dillon. I think that answers lots of question about the pioneer status that they're having. So, John, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Max. There's a question from Eddie Lee YX, I think 824. If you could highlight that question, Max. His question is, what are the selling prices for your test sockets, and how competitive are they versus your peers? I know you may not be able to divulge the exact prices, but ballpark maybe in percentage wise, Mr. Dillon.
So the range of the ASP for our products, because it's again highly customized, so I cannot throw a number out there. Anything between $2,000 to $3,000 per test socket. Okay, how competitive are we versus our peers? We sell based on value.
I see.
There's a lot of R&D, customization work, IP generation that goes along with producing these test sockets. So we like to see ourselves as pricing ourselves according to the value that we provide to our customers in reducing their overall cost of tests. Okay, so we are providing value-added proposition to our customers by reducing their cost of test, improving their equipment utilization as compared to our competition.
Great. I think with the legal suit out of the way, I think it's clear road right ahead.
As you said, the best is yet to come, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just quoting you.
Yeah. Thanks, Max. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one question here from Lokman. He actually wonders about your biggest client. I know that probably you cannot disclose who is your biggest client, but maybe could you shed some light whether is it a player in the automotive field or in the semiconductor or perhaps in the 5G field?
Okay, in the 5G field, obviously, one of our key customers is our JV partner, right? So that is on the high frequency 5G side of things. But in automotive, pretty much the who's who are all on our customer list, and these are customers from Europe, from US, so we have customers all across the globe, right? So and we continue to expand, somewhat hindered by the inability to travel, right? Over the last, I would say now, more than 18 months already, we are not able to travel overseas to meet with our customers. And this is something value added that we normally do. So even despite some of these headwinds, we did manage to record a pretty healthy set of numbers, So we are raring to go overseas to expand our customer base, increase adoption of our test contactors, and also JF Test Sense. Many people still do not know that we have these product offerings. When I say many people don't know, it's not so much on the investment side of things, but from a customer base side of things. That hey, a Malaysian company can actually do all these things that we are talking about, right? Utilizing our own local Malaysian talent, right? So we are raring to go out and do a lot of business development activities once the borders open.
Great to hear. And I think Malaysian capabilities should be highlighted. It's a lot of people just who are not from the industry and look at it from a surface point of view, don't see our own industries are highly capable, actually, highly talented engineers. We just can't find enough of them, Mr. Dillon, right?
Yeah, that's exactly true.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I have a great question from Luqman Hakim, and these are first question answered already, which is the test socket lifespan. It's more about his second question on the main risk factors for revenue in the foreseeable future. Is it something along the lines of silicon prices, and the costs of research funding? Is it something sustainable from your current cash flow generation? Because as you mentioned earlier, and you rightly pointed out, gestation period is going to be long. You're not going to expect results of what you're building over 6 months or even a year or even maybe 2 to 3 years. But how are the cash flows from your current revenue model able to sustain that of your research cost for JF Test Sense? Is this something that you guys do and it's a KPI that you guys look at the board level?
Yeah, definitely. Generating new IP is a KPI for the company. Our goal internal goal is to generate at the very minimum 5 patents or IP every year, right? We have so far been able to demonstrate so over the past 10 years. In terms of resources and funding to generate this new IP R&D activities, I mentioned about the twinning program between China and Malaysia. So China has its own immense resources, right? Immense resources in terms of engineering talent, in terms of funding, right? Also through the establishment of our entity there in China, right? So we expect this to accelerate our ability to generate new products and new IP. So resources and funding is not an issue, so far. I missed the earlier part. There was an earlier part of the question.
Yeah, with regards to risk of your future revenue. So maybe if I were to simplify what I'm seeing from his question, or I'm reading in between the lines, is that are raw material costs or cost of your OPEX a risk to your revenue generation? Because he mentioned what are main risk factors for foreseeable revenue generation in the future? Will it be silicon prices? He gave an example of will it be silicon prices? I think maybe that's where you need to clarify in terms of context that you're not directly manufacturing the wafer itself, but more of the other, maybe give a simple breakdown of your COGS and maybe more importantly, your OPEX cost, which is probably your R&D and your staff costs as your main risk factors, if I'm right to say that.
Yeah. So, as you rightly pointed out, John, we don't manufacture integrated circuits. So silicon is a non-factor to silicon prices, okay? But in terms of raw material, copper, beryllium copper, materials that we use, prices are increasing as we know, right? So we are taking very astute measurements in terms of our inventory management of these raw materials, right? Buying ahead of time, making sure that we are properly stocked up to cater for future orders, right? So that's being done. Besides that, you will probably also hear a lot in the market about people raising prices, right? So we are also adopting that strategy, given these unprecedented times. How do you cover for 30% increase in raw material prices, right? So somehow some of these costs will need to be passed on to the customer as well, through some price increases. Again, we want to be known as selling based on value, right? We are selling based on value. So the value of our product in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. You're not fighting on prices. I think that's the message you want to send across as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are not in a price war. So if somebody were to buy JF Technologies test contactors, they know the value that they're going to get, right? And the value is not only from the product, but also, for example, the after-sales service support, the customization that goes before we deploy the test contacting solutions to the customer. A lot of customization work that is done, right?
Understand.
And not everybody is willing to do this sort of customization work.
Yeah. Yes. Just a related question before I pass it back to Max. On your operating expense, your preceding year corresponding quarter was about 3.3, slight increase 3.9. When my suspicion, and do correct me if I'm wrong, is that when all your cylinders from your G1 to your G5 start running, especially for JF Test Sense, do you have any indication of how much your operating expenses will jump? Because right now it's about a quarter of your revenue, about 3.9, about 4 billion is about a quarter, 112 million, about 1/3 of your revenue. So will it, in a way, increase in tandem, or do you see like your revenue jumping ahead and then your operating costs you'll be able to maintain at a certain level, similar to what you're seeing right now?
Yeah, so to answer the question, we have to carve it out two ways. One is on the test contactor side of things. So if we look at the test contactor side of things, the slight jump also you see from the OPEX is what I call the material inventory management. So we purchase in line with the increase in orders. We also have purchased materials ahead of time, right, to ensure number one, we try to avoid any future spikes in prices of raw materials, right?
Okay.
Secondly, is also to ensure that we have sufficient inventory to handle future orders. No, we don't want to be caught where we run out of copper or beryllium copper, for example, right? So that's on the test contacting side of things. So we expect OPEX to be managed, in the current numbers range, right? JF Test Sense is completely different model because
Okay.
JF Test Sense engineering resource space, right?
Correct.
No raw materials.
Correct. Your costs will be very minimal, but OPEX will be very high.
Correct. So more on engineering talent that we'll be hiring in for the test engineering services. And then for the test interface products, yes. Right now, we have got some OEM arrangement going on with a partner, right? Also, our potential M&A candidate maybe going forward. At the same time, like for example, PCBs. We don't stock up on PCB, right? So we outsource the PCB manufacturing to countries like, for now, China, Vietnam, Korea, where they do a very good job. And this is already a commodity.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is turned around very quickly. So we don't keep these boards or PCBs because it's so highly customized. We don't put them on the shelves. So it's not off the shelf type product.
I see.
So just I want to carve the cake out to two sides.
Understand. The struggle is for us as investors, we look at a consolidated number.
Yes.
Unless you break down in the revenue. You see, for us, it's like there's one line item rather than all these breakdowns. But thank you for the explanation. Max, back to you.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, we actually have one question here. Maybe for the benefit for those who just joined us not long ago. Stephen here, he have a question on under normal circumstances, without change in technology. So normally, how long would a player will need to change the test socket? And also, maybe you would like to share more on the model of last time you were mentioning about car and then change of tire in the elastomer and then the pin. So I think you mentioned that potentially you could have another type of collaboration with the ISC in terms of elastomer and pin. So maybe you could recap and also elaborate on the business model as well.
Okay. So many questions in the one question. So I'll try to answer as best as I can if I can recall the question. So first thing first, in terms of the recurring sales business model, as I mentioned, the test socket has a certain lifespan to it, right? Can range 2 million, 3 million, 6 million, depending on the type of application it being tested. And this is also one of the areas where we see ourselves outperforming our competition because the number of cycles, what John used cycles, I mentioned units, number of million of units, So if we compare ourselves with the competition, we do better. And when we do better, that means by utilizing the same socket to test many more units, it's going to lower the cost of test to our customer, number one. Number two is you don't have to change the consumable so often because now you have longer lifespan, right? If the competition is half of what you can do, right? More frequently, you have to change the consumables. So consumables will be the pins, will be the elastomer, for example. Now, when you stop this multi-million ringgit test setup to change pins on the contactor, it's cost. Okay, this is where we see ourselves outperforming our competition. Lifespan, lowering the cost of tests, and then secondly, improving production utilization time for our customer, what we call OEE, overall equipment efficiency, right? So this is the value. You need to, Max, I'm sorry, you need to repeat. So I think I answered one part of the question. What was the other part of the question again?
The other part is that in your collaboration with the ISC, so you
Okay.
mentioned that you could use their pin as well.
Yeah. So the collaboration with ISC, we don't produce their pins. Their pins, ISC pin produced by them in their manufacturing facility. This is their area of expertise. Like in the area of microprocessors and universal test application, the spring probe pins, this is their area of specialty. But we know how to make socket housing, so we don't have to buy the socket housing from them. So we can integrate ISC pins together, just giving as an example, JF socket housing, and we can say, we can call it JF's brand with ISC pins inside. Just like you buy a computer and then you say, AMD or Intel processor inside, right? So this is how we are going to approach it going forward. And then obviously, if you're using ISC spring probe pins, the replacement or the recurring sales will be their pins. So we'll be selling to the customer ISC spring probe pins. I hope I answered that question, Max.
Yep. Thank you so much, Mr. Dillon. Back to you, John.
Yes, Mr. Dillon, maybe just as a courtesy, we just want to know whether do you have a hard stop for time, because there's some great questions. I haven't even asked my own personal questions, so I'll just be letting the flow right first. So maybe we try to aim for 10 o'clock. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely.
Great. So next question is, I try to tie some of them so we don't repeat. Is with regards to engineering talent and building JF test sense. So maybe the question would be coming from two angles. One is that, are you planning, is it difficult to hire and retain these talents? And secondly is, do you see cross-pollination of talents? Because now you have JF Test, JF Kunshan and Malaysia. So being the Malaysian talent being the slightly more senior in terms of the test sockets talent, will they be cross-pollinated, sent over to China? And then if JF Kunshan will be doing something pioneering in maybe JF Test Sense work, will they be cross-pollinated back? Is that the plan?
Okay. So let me answer one part at a time. First
Yeah.
of all, JFH Kunshan focus bread and butter manufacturing test contactors.
Okay.
So this is the JV. This is the JV entity. JF Test Sense is not part of JFH Kunshan.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I want to reiterate. So JFH Kunshan focusing on test contactor. JF Test Sense home base here in Malaysia.
Malaysia. Okay.
And we will proliferate, as I mentioned, to countries, for example, in China, US, and ASEAN semiconductor producing countries. Primarily because you need to be close to the action. All these products that are listed in the blue box, the test interface product box, once you deploy it, you need to be on site to go and qualify. Besides just qualifying our lab,
Yeah.
They are variables in the production environment. So we cross or tick a lot of boxes by doing a lot of the work here in our lab, but still there are some boxes that you need to tick in the manufacturing side.
Understand.
Okay? So hence, we need to have this officer. Now, as far as possible, overseas, we want to utilize local talent overseas. For example, for example, language, culture, right? Knowledge about systems, how things work, as far as possible. So I don't intend to deploy expats all over the world.
It's also expensive for the company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Over here in Malaysia, one thing that I did not spend a lot of time or even did not mention about was the talent development part for JF Test Sense.
Yes.
So in JF Test Sense, I talk a lot about two of the three principal activities, being test engineering services, test interface products, but I did not talk about the third principal activity, which is talent development. So talent development, we are actually now also working together with MIDA, as well as some of the local public universities. We have established internally in JFTECH a syllabus, okay, a syllabus for test engineers. Now, I am a product of local university education system, okay. In my final year of study, if I want to be a test engineer, there's no elective or option. Say, okay, to be test engineer, you take these subjects. None available. Now available through JFTECH. We are offering
Nice.
the local public universities. Here is a complete syllabus of if an undergraduate in the final year aspires to be a test engineer, semiconductor test engineer, that person can now choose test engineering as an elective because now there is a syllabus available. And on top of that, we have offered our services to also train lecturers in the public university how to deliver this syllabus, and they can
Wow.
come utilize our tools also in the lab,
Wow.
right? Because you need to be hands-on to now.
Correct.
The skin in the game for us is obviously, we want to tap on the best available talent in the local public universities. So first right of refusal, give it to us lah.
But
To go
win-win ma, I give you this, you give me this. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Correct?
yeah,
Right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So that's the skin in the game for us lah. We want to have access because JFTECH is engineering resource intensive, right? We don't want to start having to hire, from overseas countries. I don't want to name the countries, but we talked about some of them already.
Yeah.
When we have got a lot of talent, local talent out there, some or many of them who are unemployed because they have not been equipped with the technical and engineering knowledge to be test engineers. Many companies they want to plug and play.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, go start working, but they don't have the experience, don't have the knowledge. So that's the other piece whereby we are also offering our services to semiconductor companies. If you want to train your fresh engineer, let's say you hire 5 fresh engineer in the last month, you don't have resources to train them. You can utilize us, we can help train.
Wow.
So by doing so, again, there's skin in the game. It's not really charity. Okay.
Yeah. Not pure altruism.
We can demonstrate our engineering capability by training their engineers. So, you guys are good. You know how to do all these things. So in a way, also advertising or marketing our capabilities. So that's the talent development. So we got plans all in place. So now it's matter of executing, and time of execution is very key.
Understand. Great to hear. I mean, there was a question from Gary. Will you follow the Vitrox footstep of setting up the whole university? But you've answered it very clearly. It's more about setting specific domain knowledge, kind of electives, rather than taking the whole. You don't want to be talking about circuit theory 101 to your engineers, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So besides that, just to add on a little bit more, we also conduct customized training for our customers. So for example, if they have a device, an op-amp, operational amplifier. So you learn about operational amplifiers in universities, right? All theory, right? So now in the real world, you are testing an operational amplifier, right? Any operational amplifier, key characteristics lebih kurang lah, almost the same.
Correct.
Right? So now we can actually help to train customer engineer how to test an operational amplifier. What are some of the key tests? How do you code? How do you optimize the coding? So all these things we can do to demonstrate our capability.
Fantastic. Yeah, I wish I had this when I was in uni, Mr. Dillon, but way past already. Yeah. Okay, Max, back to you.
Okay, I think that answers a lot of questions about the human resources as well as talent sourcing. Okay, I got this. Actually, it's quite a hot theme or hot question we have. We had seen a lot of people are talking about metaverse recently. Facebook changed its name to Meta, and then we see Nike, McDonald, they're doing their own so-called NFTs. So as 5G is the enabler for the metaverse, and we know that the company is actually involved in, you actually have a lots of pattern in the 5G related field. So how could you benefit from the so-called metaverse trend moving forward?
Okay. First of all, I have to be honest. I am not a metaverse expert, but what I do know in many of these applications, just as I explained in my slides earlier on, all requires semiconductors, first of all, and all these semiconductors require testing. And this is where we offer our products as well as now through JFTECH value-added engineering services in order to test these ICs that goes into these applications. So I can only give you a very generic answer because again I'm not an expert in that field of metaverse.
Yeah. Maybe I just add some clarifying questions to that, or maybe guided to maybe help you give us education about this. So I think metaverse is about what I understand is that from physical reality to virtual reality, there's actually no boundary. So in a way, today, I think I'm quoting this from Satya Nadella, not me. I'm not as smart as right. So he envisioned today, like tomorrow, like today, the way we communicate with machines is still through an interface, a mouse, a keyboard, right? So it's a very trained kind of skill. But in a metaverse kind of world, it is almost to the level of subconsciousness. You blink an eye, it creates a command. You do some thinking, then some processing sequence will run. So I think where maybe the guided question will come from that is that the enabler in the big context is semiconductor, but more importantly, I think it goes down towards things like MEMS. And maybe for to be more guided in that question to you, Dillon, is that because a lot of your test sockets are for RF, for high power applications, and your partnership with ISC is more towards logic, towards memory and all that, right? But there is no strong what it highlights on MEMS, which are the key drivers to the metaverse in a way, motion sensors, touch point sensors and all that. Maybe could you kind of educate us about, is the testing for MEMS very, very different? That do they utilize a test socket? Or is that the way they test MEMS is totally, different from what we see for RF?
MEMS devices needs to be tested using test contactors as well.
Great.
Right. So it needs to use test sockets similarly. So depending on the packaging technology, we spoke a bit prior about
Yes.
the packaging technology. As long as it's in conventional packages and it is used, for example, in applications such as MEMS, you need test contactors to test these devices.
Great. And maybe a personal question of mine, because your test sockets, I think the bulk of it is usually for QFN, QFP kind of packages, right? What are the general packaging types for MEMS devices actually? Is it normally a flip chip or a BGA kind of packaging?
Yeah, I would say it's a mixed bag. It's all of
it's
all
a
of,
mix.
yeah,
All
it's
of that. Okay.
All of the above that you said. So obviously, wafer level type packaging is getting a lot of traction over the past few years. So wafer level chip scale packaging, essentially also very similar to ball grid array type packages.
Okay.
So it has balls instead of the normal leads or the leadless, it has the balls. So for us in JF Technology, just to add a little bit more color, the two game-changing new products that we talked about, Belmat, Unicorn, is geared towards those sort of advanced packages, besides the ability to test in higher frequencies.
Great to hear. Because MEMS is the the new world, I would say. MEMS is an enabler for all this metaverse. Yeah. Okay.
MEMS has been around long time so, but metaverse, now this
yeah, because the enabler for the retail user, they wouldn't think about all the things that enable them to do this, just motion sensors blinking. Yeah. Even BMW car users, they for them to switch songs, they don't even need to touch, just motion.
Yeah, it's just motion. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for the education, Mr. Dillon. Yeah, Max, back to you.
Okay, cool. Okay, let me check. Okay, actually, there's a question regarding your collaboration with IC. Under the agreement, you'll be the distributor for IC in China, Malaysia, as well as Asian countries. So, again, two-part question. First part of it, in the IC part, can you leverage your Kunshan facility to distribute to your customers for the products of IC? And then maybe I'll come back to the second part later on a bit.
Okay, yeah, that will be helpful. Okay, so Max, the JFH Kunshan. Okay, let's just back up a bit. Let's talk about the China semiconductor market expectations or customer expectations, right? Given the US-China trade war, so security of supply is very important, number one, right? Number two is your presence of manufacturing in China itself. Okay, security it also goes along with security of supply, right? So JFH Kunshan manufactures in China, right? So when we talk about the future plan, building the socket housing and integrating with IC pins, manufacturing performed in China, checks all the boxes in terms of customer expectations for China. This is a must-have in order, in our view, a must-have in order to do business with customers in China, right? So through, in fact, I mentioned just now we are starting to ship this quarter ISC's products. China is actually from China, not Malaysia. China is starting. They are taking the lead. So JFH, my colleague in China, WKU is the general manager there. He's taking the lead. So we are shipping products already in China for ISC. And then later on, we have plans to do this sort of integration work as well, working with them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the second part question is actually more of an industry question, because some of the IT players that they are involved in China market, of course they are IT they had reported that the pricing over there, it is more competitive in China now, given that a lot of IT players are moving over there. So what about test contracting market? Do you face any competition in terms of pricing so far?
There will always be price competition I guess in any product that you sell. So that's why over the course of our discussion this evening, I've mentioned several times about selling based on value, right? So our product, if it outperforms the competition in terms of the ability to produce more, lower cost of tests for our customers, improve their equipment utilization, I believe in the grand scheme of things, the customer is willing to pay that additional premium. Just like you may buy certain brands of handphone, right? Okay, which I will not advertise for them freely. So you buy certain type of handphone because it has certain value that you're looking at, So you're okay to pay 500 ringgit or 1,000 ringgit more for that additional value that you're looking for. So we like to be viewed in the same manner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dillon. John, back to you.
Yeah, that was a very strong hint. I don't know if people still don't get it. Okay. Yeah. So I completely missed this question, and I want to go back because this is a great question. And we've talked about probably costs. We've talked about future growth. We talked about the education front that you guys are looking at, but we haven't talked about this part about sanctions or restrictions on knowledge transfer to a Western country. So I think this question was from W. Kang Chong. He asked, when you choose Kunshan as your base in China and your JV with Huawei, did you guys face any restriction or sanction on knowledge transfer from any Western countries like the US for this? When you
No, we did
okay, did not. Is it because the IP was in a way not on their radar, or was it just something that they just close a blind eye on?
not. Okay, maybe I don't know. I misunderstood the question or not. But whatever IP or knowledge that we are transferring is our knowledge. We are not transferring any Western knowledge. This is IP that we generate here in Malaysia. These patents are our patents here in Malaysia. We
Understand.
take somebody else's technology and ship it over to Kunshan, right? This is
yeah. I don't think he meant that. I think he meant more on the way, like, let's just say you see now ASML cannot sell to SMIC. So in terms of JFTECH, even though yes, definitely it's developed within JFTECH itself, was the technology in a way, quote unquote, dangerous enough, for the lack of a better word, that China should not own technology that has been developed by JFTECH? It wasn't that.
Yeah, so we have been working on setting up our facility now for close to a year. Nothing of that sort lah.
Okay, great. Okay, Max.
Yep. Okay, I guess I will take this last question here from Francis. Actually, he's asking about this question. I was also wondering, how does the global chip supply? We see some equipment player, they say, our order got delayed due to the chip supply shortage. So how does it affect? He's asking about the local semiconductor industry. So maybe we'll circle it back to JFTECH specifically. How does it impact the company, and how long do you expect this situation will prolong?
Okay, so if you look back in time a little bit, 2019 was a very strong year for semiconductor overall, even before the pandemic, right? Guns blazing all over, as long as you're in the tech, right, semiconductor industry. Then COVID came about in sometime February 2020. All these massive lockdowns all over the world. So hence, driving, I would say not artificial, but it's a surprise driving usage of work from home gadgets, right? Smartphones, iPads, whatever, tablets or desktop computers. And then after that, similarly also cloud computing, because all this work from home, you need storage. So now cloud computing, all requiring semiconductors, not part of the forecast for 2020. So it took up the lion's share essentially of the supply chain. And then automotive was saying, okay, maybe because of this pandemic, we're not going to sell so much. So they also hold back, right? But then a lot of pent-up demand, then people started, okay, I don't want to use public transport. I want to use my own car. So now car demand also go up, right? So just give a little bit of history, to today's participants of the discussion. So this is how the global semiconductor, so it's compounding. It's a domino effect, compounding issue. So now drag until 2021. So in response, semiconductor companies worldwide adding more capacity. So the shortage is primarily more on the wafer side of things. Okay, so the TSMCs, the UMCs, the X-Fabs, global foundries of the world. So they are also now adding capacity, but adding capacity takes time. As capacity is being added, example, OSAT's also adding more capacity, want to produce more, keep on wanting to produce more. This is good news for JFTECH, because as companies or manufacturing sites are adding capacity, you buy more tester, you need to buy more contactors also, more test sockets. So this positions us well for this semiconductor shortage. Now, how long this is going to last? Yeah, some mixed views here and there. Some people say, oh, 2022 situation will be much better. Okay, but let's not forget, if you look at some of the slides I showed just now, you all talk about metaverse, new application, right? Augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. All this is going to drive another wave of demand, right? How long? Who knows? We expect it. This ride not going to end so soon, lah. Put it that way, right? So the ride it's going to be a nice ride for semiconductor, in my personal opinion, at least for the next couple of years.
Great. Great. I think that should be the last one, right, Max? If not, I'm pretty sure they will ask until tonight midnight. We can never finish.
Honestly, we still see questions coming in even now, but
yeah.
okay, maybe we can go on for last one. It's up to you. Let it give it to you for this.
Yeah, no, I think maybe let Mr. Dillon give us a quick summary. I think that will be more beneficial of probably what we want the investing community that has joined us tonight to think of. What are the key takeaway again? Because there's so much packed into these 2 hours, right? I'm pretty sure they've forgotten what you said in the slide already, some of it. Maybe just give us some key takeaways in relation to the questions that you see being asked, like, test socket cycles, your growth plans, all that kind of some key takeaways that we can go back and do more research about it, Mr. Dillon.
Sure. I appreciate that, Max and John. So the key takeaways for JF Technology obviously is our blueprint, our 6 growth drivers that we have defined, as you can see very clearly, each one of these growth engines. We have got very well established plans supporting each one of these growth engines again. And now it's about execution, hard work, laser focus, on all these compasses, guiding us towards the objective of growing the company. So as I mentioned, I cannot comment about valuation of the company. That's up to all of you to value what we do. But obviously, all our efforts currently being undertaken is moving us up the value chain. So we are not just a test contacting company now. We are doing far more than just providing test contactors or test socket solutions, something that we have established ourselves very well over the past 20 years. Now we are also offering value-added engineering services and interface products. And if you look at the semiconductor test ecosystem, many other possibilities may come about, right? So right now, 6 growth drivers, the 6 could be 8, could be 10, but we want to stay, again, I use the word frequently, laser focus, right? So we want to make sure we hone in on our very well established plans, execute and produce the desired results. So that's the key takeaway. And then maybe finally, in the past, only one growth driver. I want to reiterate this. In the past, only one. 2022, 4 out of the 6, and then adding one in the next subsequent year. So a lot of work. Nice and exciting times ahead of us, from a management of the company, our team in JF, they're all pumped up, right?
Great.
With the defined blueprint that we have.
Great. Are you hiring? I'm just helping you do some job street advertisement here because there's close to 400 packs. So
yes.
If you're
Yes.
Where do they send their CV to? Where do they send their CV
to? We are on LinkedIn. We are in Job Street. Yeah. So look out now. We are hiring. We are constantly hiring, especially test engineers and also mechanical design engineers. So yeah, look out for our ads in LinkedIn.
Great. With that, Max, any last words from you? I really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much, Mr. Dillon. Max.
Yeah, same here. Really enjoyed the session. I think generally maybe before we close, I would like to share my personal view as an investor. So a lot of people have been saying the valuation for JF is expensive. I saw one comment actually comparing valuation for JF with Inari. What I want to say is, like what Mr. Dillon said, the JF we know in financial year 2021 has only one growth pillar, and moving forward they have 4 up to 6 growth pillars. So I think that pretty much justify why the company is constantly trading around 80 to 90 times, perhaps sometimes even 100 times PE valuation. But of course, I need to reiterate that we do not provide any buy and sell call, because I don't want to get Mr. Dillon in any trouble.
Coffee session with SC.
Yeah, black coffee session. So again, we do not provide any buy and sell call. So what we hope is that throughout the whole session, you will learn more about JFTECH, about the growth landscape for the company, why the company deserves such a how to put it, expensive valuation as compared to other tech player, not peers, tech players. So yeah, I really want to thank Mr. Dillon for joining us tonight, giving us very, very educative 2 hours sharing with us. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Max and John, for having me again. Thanks, Stockbit, FIRL, and Drop Invest, for hosting this evening event. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hopefully we didn't grill you too much, Mr. Dillon.
It's very engaging and I enjoyed the session as much as you guys did.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So for those of you who are watching, I would like to give a big shout out to Rondi. He's supposed to host this with Max, but he knows that I'm a big fan of JF, so he gave me the opportunity. So I want to give a big shout out to Rondi, a close friend of mine. Do keep following Max on his blog. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Follow Stockbit. I think a great community. And once again, we like to thank Mr. Dillon for his time. We don't want to hold him any longer. He has travel plans tomorrow. So wishing all the best to JFTECH. And hope to see you again in the next quarterly briefing, or if there's any new major updates to JFTECH, Mr. Dillon. Thank you so much.
Look forward to that. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night.
Thank you so much. With that, I end the live now.